If you're just joining us, welcome and good morning. This is your host, Keely Austin. As of right now, it looks like we have 49 participants. Do reach out to your team. We don't want any ICMs left behind. I've got a few people that I'm going to text. Our goal is to reach 100 participants on this call every time. All right, so our trainer today, Bill Predebon. Bill is here in Scottsdale, and I have the honor of learning from him each and every week. He's got multiple deals going on at a time, and Renatus has really transformed his life. Before Renatus, Bill was a pro skier for 10 years in Vail, Colorado. He realized he wasn't very qualified to do much else. He got into the franchise world, and due to lack of knowledge, that cost him the business, and he lost everything. In 2007, he heard about real estate investing. He did not have education. He tried to do this on his own and ended up upside down in over $400,000 during the 2008 crash. Then he found Renatus. The previous year before Renatus, he was a loan officer and didn't make very much money that year. But the following year, after he had found Renatus, he made 8 times more in his first year with Renatus than he did the previous year as a loan officer. And that is just amazing. That really shows the power of when you take this business seriously, what can happen. Ever since then, Bill has completed over 140 deals. He's grossed multiple 7 figures in real estate. He's a marketing leader. And this last year was added to the PIT team. He's a President's Advisory Council and training member. And we're very fortunate to have him as our trainer today. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Keely. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. How are you, Bill?
Good. We're at, you can hear me okay?
Yep, you sound great.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. Thanks for taking on this role in the morning, as always. I appreciate it very much. I appreciate that awesome introduction. I love working with you every week. I absolutely just love watching your commitment and dedication to this business grow almost every week. It's cool. It's cool to see you taking the steps that it takes to do the things that you need to do when things aren't working or when you're not getting the result you want. You open up, you're open to change, you're open to coaching, you're open to listening to what other people have done before you, and then you go out and actually apply it. And I think it's working, and it's going to pay off more than you can even imagine yourself right now. I just know it, and it's just awesome. So thanks. This is a big step in that. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill. Thank
Absolutely. You. Good morning, everybody. I've been thinking about this call today. Oops, I don't know where I just did. There we go. It's good to see you guys on the phone. I love having you here. Thank you for being a part of this every morning. I'm going to go, let's see, I'll switch to video here, 760-533-3141. Put that in the chat, my phone number, 760-533-3141. I'm going to attempt to share my screen too. Remember, the one thing that you guys can do, and girls, is whether you're driving or at work or whatever it is, if you're on the phone or on the Zoom app or at home on a desktop, you can either chat in or come off mute and just basically change the subject and talk about what's important to you in this training. If there's something specific to your business that I can help you with, then I'll change gears and hit that up. So I think last week, I believe we were talking a little bit about follow-up, and so I was going to kind of go into a little bit more details on the how, right? So we all know what to do. I shouldn't say we all know what to do. It's a constant learning experience, but and we have to be constantly reminded of the 4 money-making activities. Although they are very simple, they are not easy. And so we a lot of trainers, we will all rotate around on what we believe to be effective and work. And a lot of that is the how, is the why, right? Is the why to do it, is the what to do. But the most important thing, not really the most important thing, one of the things that we have to do is implement the how, right? So how do we talk to people? How do we follow up? How do we invite? How do we overcome objection? And Michael and everybody on this call really does a good job of really sharing a little bit of everything. So I'm going to talk a little bit more today on how I do the follow-up, how I, and so in between there, if you're not at a follow-up stage in your business with anybody, then we've got to get you there. So if there's an issue, like if you have a text from somebody or you have a recent conversation with somebody that you're working with, a friend or a family member or a cold prospect, and you want me to discuss it with you, or how I would respond, or how I would invite them, or what I would say to them, then feel free. I'll try to remember a few examples of over the last week or two that I've used, that I've worked with, so we can share this as well. And let's see, if I go to my screen, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I think I showed this last week. So I'll get to that in a minute when I share my screen, but in the follow-up, what I do. So the number one thing I like to do, as you remember, is, let's see, Michael talked yesterday about a BAM FAM, right? Book a meeting from a meeting. So I'm always on point with that. Like, for example, Jackie went to a property tour this weekend. Jackie is a friend of Jen's. Jen wasn't there. Jen's on my team getting 5-star qualified. And I followed up with Jackie on, I believe Thursday, and invited her to the property tour. So she came, she really liked it. And she didn't know about the picnic because it's really it's always for guests, but it was something that just was one of those things that you kind of play it along. And so at the end of the property tour, we invited everybody to the picnic. So I went up and personally asked her to go to the picnic. So that's, again, booking a meeting from a meeting, because my next step would be to follow up with her the next weekend or the next week in person on a one-on-one. And I've already had a one-on-one with her. So this is kind of through the routine. She's been to several events. And so she came to the picnic. And fortunately, there was also a couple people that were standing around when she was deciding to go to the picnic. I had to go home and take care of a couple things before I went back to the picnic. And the cool thing was, I when I got to the picnic, I sat down on purpose next to her and we talked. And it's a social event, but naturally, I'm there to. When I'm having these conversations, it is direct. Like I'm thinking about things that are gonna make sense when it comes to getting started. Because for her, this is, again, a due diligence. Is she gonna like the people that were around? There was a guy, Bruce, there, who's a good friend of mine. And Bruce was talking to her, and I thought it was great. It's always good to have that third party, and I don't have to be the one trying to explain it to her or always telling her how great it is, or whatever the case is, and overcome an objection. So in my opinion, anytime you can introduce your guests to other people at events, it's huge. Anytime you can book them to another event. The belief is that, I used to believe this, you guys. I used to believe that, like, I would be concerned. I would be concerned that this individual or that individual wouldn't fit right for this event, or wouldn't fit right for that, or what if this happens at the event? What if they talk to the wrong person? What if the wrong person says something to them, or the right person says the wrong thing? Those things you can worry about all you want, but the truth of the matter is, it's another exposure, and nothing's going to be perfect. Nothing's going to be wrapped up in that quote of the day today with Keely is ideal, right? Nothing's going to be set perfectly in the perfect scenario where everything's going to go great and they're just going to sign up. So it doesn't matter. They're going to get all different aspects from any different event, from any different folks. We just have to believe that, you know what, everybody needs this. I just looked at a text that Michael sent me when I was closing this couple at working with this couple at the intensive this regional this last time, and they were getting ready to enroll. and you know, they're already investing. They've had a good career, both of them. And so, you know, to me, they're a 9 and a 10. They're just really powerful people that I really wanted to work with. I want to be surrounded by. I want to work with them on my team. And so it was, you know, someone I wanted to be a part of Renatus, right? And I felt like it, given what they're doing, it was the best fit for them. Like having this community, their ability to raise money, partner up with people, and really learn what they don't know is just, it was key. So all the elements were there. And so, you know, just like anybody at any given time, no matter what part of the day, what part of your career you're in with Renatus, there's a nervousness, if you want to call it that. There's an anxiety, there's a question mark. And Michael texted me and said, you know, you're doing them a favor. And so we always have to remember that we're doing them a favor. That is one of the core beliefs, that we have something that they need, that everybody needs Renatus. And so, you know, whenever you're moving people along the system, it's imperative that you remember that your objective from one event to another is a couple things, is asking for the order, right? If money was not an object, where do you see yourself getting started today? Or are you ready to get started today? Or should we place your order? You know, let's go ahead and place your order today and worry about the funding as step 2. Whatever your line is, whatever your ask for the order, right? Your after party is, that's the number one thing you're doing, right? And then if they're not like, yep, let's place the order, I'm ready to go right now, let's do it. If that's not the answer, and they're like, yeah, I'm ready to go, I want to figure out what we're going to do, let's figure out a time, and then it's booking them to an event. And it's a BAM fam, right? So same thing with the picnic, and knowing that, you know, it doesn't matter who she talks to, that I know that it's going to be great to have other people that are a part of Renatus that are at this picnic. They're there because they believe in it, and because they love it, and because they know it's good for everybody. And so they're gonna say everything positive about it, no matter how they present it. So just an example of an opportunity to move people through multiple exposures. And then before I left, before she did, before I left, when I sat down with her, I just said, hey, you know, next week we'll get together. I'll talk to Jen. I'll give you a text over the weekend or on Monday, and we will figure out a time, and we'll get you started next week, and we'll figure out, you know, what you want to do, and how we're going to fund the education. So it was kind of a presumptuous foreshadowing of what's going to happen, and there's no objection there, right? Even if she's objecting in her mind, she's not verbally objecting it, right? So just an example of something. Another example of the how, right? So for example, and the reason I put my phone number in there, I think it's really good, and that you reach out if you have an opportunity. If it's not me, you're 5-star for sure. You're leaders in the community, and you don't have to go this alone. And it doesn't take a long time to you know, get your question answered, I don't think. But someone called me and texted me and wanted to talk to me about just a quick situation where they just weren't getting a lot of support from home. And here's the scenario. So, you know, there's not results out of the gate. This is not your human nature, you know, make a payment and drive off with your car. So we make a payment, we pay $20,000, and we're invested in an opportunity that's going to take work and some time and some learning curve, both on the marketing and the real estate. Doesn't matter. Typically, you guys, no one's getting 5-star qualified in a short period of time. That's why we have like a 60-day startup or a 30-day startup for 1-star and things like that. Those are incentives, because we know that it's important to get people to move fast and come out with ignorance on fire, to come out of the gate, to take massive action. And that's the people that generally will have those quick results. It's not always sustaining. So then they'll hit a lull, they'll go back down in the valley, and then they'll come back up at a peak, just like everybody. So same with real estate. You might hit a deal right away, but it might take you 6, 8 months, 10 months to do your next deal, or it might just take 6 or 8, 10 months to do your first deal. It's just a fact. So the expectation is that you guys know this, right? The people that are enrolling in the money in the education, and you, for example, are putting the money down. You are, it's going to take time. And so when you're with somebody, a significant other, family members, friends, whatever it is, colleagues at work, and you're trying to convince them that this is the place they need to be, or they need to support you in this endeavor, emotionally and behind you, it's tough sometimes, right? Because they want to see the result. So this particular person was talking about a significant other who was not seeing the result and was concerned with, how long it's been taking and what they've done lately, right? And so, in my opinion, when you're looking for support from whomever it is that you're dealing with, my solution to this was, simply look at the individual as a prospect, right? So if you're talking about a prospect and you are talking to them about your success, and someone says to you, what have you done? Let me know when you've gotten something taken care of, when you've done a deal or made some money, or something to that nature, right? What have you done lately? What have you been able to accomplish, right? And so we forget the things that, and this is going to be, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. We forget some of the things that we have already done. Number one is we've already made a commitment, and we've already endorsed a $20,000 check, right? We've already written the amount of money, whatever it is that you guys have borrowed or spent or whatever to get started in the education, whatever level you're at. Number two is, once that happened, you started to you inevitably and kind of organically, you sought out a mentor, because your 5-star is your mentor. And if it's not your 5-star, then it's also your leaders in the group, right? So whatever team you're on, they are your leaders. They are people that have gone down a path that you intend to go down. They have been there, done that, and they have accomplished the things that you're looking to accomplish. So therefore, they are a leader for you. They're a mentor. So you've done that. You've sought out that person. You found someone who's going to help you do this. So number three is you started to attend events. You've committed to a business. You've committed to an obligation, to time commitments, to go to certain meetings, get on certain calls, do certain trainings and things like that, right? So you're personally developing yourself. Number four is you started doing this education. So more specifically to this objection is that when you can talking to significant others or people of influence, whether you're prospecting them or whether you just want their support, and you've not made money, you have spent time and hours, you've committed, it's costing you more money for your business builder's fee or intensives or whatever it is, regionals, and you're spending money, and they're like, what is going on? You're not making any money. Naturally, when someone doesn't understand, that makes total sense. So your explanation and your reasoning, when you consider them, even if they're not a prospect, and you treat them like a prospect, or you approach it like a prospect, is that you share with them what you have been doing, what you have learned, and what you are implementing. And that's where even the smallest pieces of the education come in, where you've learned something you didn't know before, and you're already applying some of those strategies, whether it's credit strategies or little tiny things that you're doing. You're looking at property, you're starting to analyze property, you are applying some of the 10-step programs, you're starting a business, you open an LLC, you've taxed your LLC as an S Corp. Whatever the strategies are that you're learning to do, or you're starting to do, or you're already doing, any of those things are progress. You are a better person financially and even personally than you were before you got started and before you spent the 20 grand. And those are non-tangible, right? They're kind of things that can't be touched. They're unseen because the average person around you wants to see financial bank account statements that show proof of this benefit that you're receiving, not emotional benefit. And if that makes sense, just because you set up you started to keep receipts, or you set up an LLC, or you changed your tax bracket, or whatever the case is, whatever it is, it's not necessarily immediately affecting your paycheck or something like that. Then you have to be able to share with them what they're doing. So just another example of an objection that was overcome, or not overcome, how to approach that objection, the how-to side of trying to gain that support and sharing with them what it is that you're doing. It's not going to work right away. It's not like it's a magic pill or anything like that. It's just simply another way to think about it because naturally when someone says, so what have you done? We are instinctively going to go right to our head and go, you know what? I haven't done anything. You're right. I haven't done anything. It's been 10 months. It's been a year. It's been 2 years and I haven't made any money. And that's the natural way to go. Okay. So I'm going to keep moving into the follow-up a little bit and what I do, how I do it, the follow-up. I'm going to try to think of examples as I go, but if you have one and you want to come off mute or you want to type it in the chat, then please do go ahead and do that. And that way we can talk about your example specifically with your prospect, whether it's from seeing the people, a very first cold lead call, or anything that has to do with how you invite people, how you follow up with people, how you move them from a Thursday night to a Saturday, or move them into a property tour, whatever the case is. So that just reminded me of something. Typically I will invite people to a Thursday night. That's the number one place I want to bring somebody first. But I don't care. Zach Ullman and Kevin Sparks, they have built their team in Phoenix on a Saturday first on a property tour, and they've done a very good job of it. And so they invite to a Saturday tour, and they do it a little differently, and then they move them from action and from the desire to want to do a deal into the opportunity to see what the community looks like in some sort of follow-up situation, and then they move them to a meeting where they offer them the Renatus education. So it doesn't matter what order you do it in. It doesn't matter how you do it. What's important is that you do it at some point. So for me, whatever's next is what I invite them to. So, if I get texts sometimes all the time from the team and from folks, and they're just interested in, how would I, what's best for this person in order to see something, or should I invite them to Saturday or should I invite them to Thursday? And my response is always the same. I always want to know someone's scenario, right? I want to know what the background is. But regardless, I'm gonna text them according to the option, right? So I'll either give them the option of both, or I'll invite them to the first one. And the first one is if they object to that, or they have some plans, then I'll invite them to the second one. But whatever's first, I invite them there first. It doesn't matter if it's Thursday night or Saturday or any other event for that matter. But just a thought. Okay, so let's see. I'll share my screen a little bit here, and just so you guys know. So this is my desktop. Come on. Hey, Keely, can you see that?
I can still just see your video. It does say that you've started screen sharing, so let's see. Oh yeah, yep, we can see it.
Okay.
Someone's off mute too, if you want to mute them.
What's that?
Someone's off mute.
Yeah. Let's see. So that was that's the post Helios, you guys, when we get into the in-house billing, which we're not there yet. So we're going to move over here. So this is a screen that I always have up on my laptop when I'm at my follow-up, so I can compare their options. Right?
Hey, Bill, Lalisa is off mute, and that seems to be causing interference. Lalisa.
Yeah, you got it. There it is. Taken care of. Thanks, Anthony. Cool. All right. So this is this screen I always have up, and I also always have my back office. So I have this up here, guys, on my laptop, where I can check back and forth between this particular slide. I don't bring any other
where
slides
did you pull this off of?
What's that? Where did I get this? So everybody should have this. You'll have this in your back office in the Helios under under presentations, and you will have the slideshow from Michael Huggins, Bob Snyder, Scott Rowe, and Richard Stock. And they all have an intro, and they have a follow-up, and they have a video where they're actually filming it in the studio, where they have filmed the presentation, whether it's the intro or the follow-up, and they also have the PowerPoint, and you guys can obtain that, and you can grab these slides. So this is the slide that's on my personal presentation that I do. So the reason that we have this, if you remember, folks, is that you do not need to be 5-star qualified in order to do a presentation. You do not need to be 5-star qualified in order to host an event and put an event on a calendar. You have to be in compliance. You have to be in good standing. You have to be an ICM, and you have to get approved by corporate when you place an event. But if you do a private event that is not open to the public, so other people can invite guests, you do not have to be approved. You can just do a presentation at your house or wherever you want. So these slide decks are there for you to take them and just present them yourself. You could even just literally play Scott Rose. Now, remember, you got to check to make sure that you're not playing the post-Helios presentations, because those have different pricing and a little bit different opportunities that are available to them. So you have to make sure you have it current if you're doing that. But you can always check with your 5-star or your leaders in order to make sure that if you're doing this. But the point is if you don't have this, take a picture of it now. Number one is that way you can have this, whatever on your phone or whatever when you're doing a follow-up. But this I can easily explain, because when people see, from Thursday night, folks, remember, if you have any questions or thoughts, just chat it out. But Thursday night or Saturday, it doesn't matter. I want to move them to a follow-up. I'm going to a one-on-one, and the one-on-one and the second exposure may or may not close them, but I can almost guarantee that I get their order placed. That typically at that time we will place their order. And typically we'll find out that money is the objection. But during that time frame, I'm going to get to this, is that they're not going to completely understand the difference between all of the products. We only have 2 products, as everybody knows. We have Essentials and AIT. It looks like we have 5 products, but we don't. We don't have 5 options. We really have 2 products, and inside AIT we offer an advanced and extreme, but it's of the same product or service. When we combine the essentials with the advanced or the essentials with the extreme, then we get the advanced combo and the extreme plus combo. And you'll notice there's no discount for adding the 2 of them together. We just package them together and call it a package. We call it a combo. So a lot of folks will not understand all of the differences and what you get with all of the choices. So we constantly talk about the extreme combo and offering everything we offer for a lifetime, right? So it's easy for me, and I'll ask these questions. Now remember, so number one is when I am moving people from a Thursday night or first exposure to a follow-up one-on-one, I'm doing it intentionally, and I'm setting an appointment, and I want them to be there. And I know that since they've only had 1 or 2 exposures, they're not going to remember all this stuff. But when I get to a follow-up, you guys, this is the how part. I always ask, I sit down, how was your day, right? We build a little rapport. That's 10 or 15 minutes. Remember, I set up 2 hours for this. And in this time, if they want to talk for 30 minutes before I get to a question, I'm going to listen. Every once in a while, they're going to say something about life that I'm going to reference and implement or input something about Renatus, so I can share a story about Renatus and how that can attribute to the life story that they're telling me. But they're going to be telling me about their day or their kids or their week or their month. They're going to be telling me about their situation, right? And all leading up to, and I haven't even asked the question yet. We're just building rapport. Now, as soon as I get the opportunity, we're gonna sit down and I'm gonna have my laptop open immediately if I haven't already done so, if I'm not there first or whatever. And I've got this laptop up and I've got this open, and I also have my back office open. Okay. So when I go back to, Keely, can you see this or no? Did it change?
I'm back on. I had to use my phone. My internet's being crazy, so we're good.
What's that?
I got kicked off for some reason, but I think it's just my internet.
Okay, so you can't tell if my shared screen is changing now or no?
It's showing the
How to get
started with the essentials and the 4 AITs.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. So I gotta let's see. New share. Got it. There it is. Okay. So
Yep.
this is my back office, and I typically have education open. There's all pending orders that I have right now. Let's see. So essentials, I'll go to my education. Why is it not opening? Oh, that's interesting. Anyway. There we go. So you can see that now, right? So I'll go to my essentials and I will open that up, and I'll show them education. Now I can scroll through all this. When if I'm talking about ICM, I can go to 10 steps. So anyway, the two screens, the only two things that I have open will be my that slide on the bottom of my computer, so I can scroll between that window and my back office. So when I am let's see. There we go. When I am at the follow up, what I'm doing is if I ask somebody and I say right away when I can, after I build rapport with them, this is what I'm doing, folks, is I absolutely want to know where they are. Right. So a lot of times I'll jump in. I'll say, okay, so from what you've seen so far, I may do one of a couple things. You know, are there any specific questions that you might have right now in regards to what you witnessed on Thursday or Saturday, or what you've seen so far with Renatus and the experience that you've had? Right. So that'll be a number. And then a lot of times they'll say no. And I may even lead them a little bit and say, listen, do you have any questions on the differences of when you get enrolled, you know? And I call it foreshadowing or future pacing. I'm letting them know when they get started, this is what they're going to experience. I'm talking about when they're getting started, once they're enrolled, once they're with us, once they've joined the team, right? This is the language that Michael talks about a lot, that Woody Woodward like this language is so important. And I've learned this language through personal development, working with NLP people and things like that. So it's imperative that you hear that you implement some of that stuff in your career as you move forward. But so I'll say, you know, once you get in started with the Extreme Plus combo, you know, are there any questions you have on everything that you will have access to, all the resources that you'll have? And so I might steer them with a question, and they're like, oh, you know, on the Extreme Plus, you know, what's the difference between the advanced and the extreme? Or they might say, weren't there two different choices that I could have? Or, you know, they might say, yeah, I think I know all 5 of your products. Or they'll lead me to believe that they don't know everything, because there's no way they can retain all that information on 1 or 2 showings. So then I will clarify any doubt. I will clarify anything. But if they're like, nope, I'm good right now, which I get a lot, right? I'm good right now. And then I'll go, I won't elaborate. I won't ask them to, oh, tell me more about that. That's it. That means to me, so what I'm hearing from you is that you are telling me that if money was not an object, if money wasn't an issue, if we can find the money, which I'm going to help you do next, you're ready to get started in the Extreme Plus combo, right? I said, great. Yeah, they're like, I would totally do it. I mean, there's no reason why, you know, they'll tell me why they feel that way or whatever the case is. And so immediately I'm going to move to the back office in my computer and I'm going to start to place the order, and I'm going to remind them of Dane's 3-step process where number one, we're going to place the order, and that will get the ball rolling. That'll be step one. Step two, we're going to work on right now, which is where we're going to find the funding. Once we get funded, we'll move to step three, which is open the education, get you funded, and the education will get started. And that's when we begin. However I phrase that. So now let me tell you, if and you've heard me say this before, if in the follow-up, you guys, I am not talking about anything that they don't ask me about. So I'm not talking about an instructor. I'm not talking about different classes, how many classes, where the classes are, how we watch the classes, when I watch them. I'm only letting them know what I want. I'm only talking minimally about anything that they're asking about. Now, if they have a question about something specifically, then I will address that. But I don't want to open up a bunch of can of worms on different subjects that they don't need clarification on or they've even forgotten about asking about. We'll get to that, right? It'll come up in time. Most people understand that if they get this education and they get started, they will have the opportunity they're looking for. So the majority of the objections is going to be, how are they going to fund it? And do they have the approval of all the people they need in order to get started, including themselves? So my next question will be, once I answer any question they have. Now, if they say, you know what, I really don't understand, do I have to pay for the coaching or does that come with it? And I'll clarify. I won't just say, I will not just answer the question. And I'll be like, no, you don't have to pay for the coaching. It's open, right? I'll explain. Remember, in the advanced, you don't get the one-on-one coaching, but when you enroll in the extreme, what you're going to do, you're going to get the one-on-one coaching for you and your partner, your learning partner. For 2 people, you're both going to get 6 one-hour sessions that you can do simultaneously or separately, right? So I'm going to explain it a little bit and build more value to it. When someone asks me a question, I'm going to answer a question, right? Right? Don't you think coaching is amazing? You totally agree that, you know, a lot of times you get sold in other programs to up, you know, what do they always ask at another deal? It's like, hey, how's it going? Oh, the reason you're not having success is you need coaching. Haven't you heard that before? Oh yeah, I totally have. Exactly. So here's what Bob did. You know, he's a genius in the fact that he just adds the coaching in. And remember, on the essentials, you also already get the group coaching every week. So that supplements the 6 one-on-one coaching sessions. Doesn't that make sense? And they're like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. So you guys, when we're answering questions, please don't be so urgently ready to just respond with an answer. Like, think about your answer. Make your answer exciting. Take every opportunity you can. And John O'Neill teaches this all the time, to build more value. To build more value in what you're doing for these people. And their doubt will subside. Their doubt will decrease. When I'm at the follow-up, I'm not in a hurry. I want to be able to share anything and everything I can to make them relax. And a lot of times, you guys, there is conversation. Anytime conversation can start to happen, you can get away from the point. So I always want to try to redirect back to the point, right? We don't want to get lost on tangents. Even though the folks start to open up, they start to feel comfortable with you, and naturally it's going to take time for them to share stories. And so you want to listen to those stories, but anytime you can interject, you are asked a question, or you can tell a story and bring it back to Renatus and back to the solution and back to what we're here for, the better off you're going to be and the better off they're going to be, right? And typically you can do that through asking a question when you hear something they might be talking about. Yeah, could you imagine if you had this education back when you did that? Don't you think your children would be in a better position? Or, you know, whatever it is, you ask a question that you know the answer to, right? Oh, I totally agree. That's exactly what I'm saying, right? It only makes sense. The sooner we get you started, the better, so we don't run into that problem again, right? So we're leading this conversation with questions, right? Now, my point earlier was this. Anytime that they are not having questions about something specific with regards to the education, how they're going to learn, what they have to pay for, the differences between the 2 different options, the differences between the AITs, when they don't have questions on anything, I'm not bringing anything else up. I'm not going to scroll through over here on my side and go, okay, yeah, look, let's look at this course. These are all the courses you get. I'm not going to go back over what they saw Thursday night. I'm not going to do a mini epic. It's just confusing and taking time. I want to get to the next question. And within hopefully 30 to 45 minutes at the very latest, I'm asking them this question, on a scale of 1 to 10, however you guys want to phrase this. On a scale of 1 to 10, or, if money wasn't an objective, once we find the money, we're about ready to find the money for you. Once we do that, you're ready to place this order and get started at the extreme combo, right? Or you're ready for the combo. Whatever the question is, are you ready to place the combo today? Whatever leading question you're offering, that is it. So for me, it's a lot of times, right now, given everything you don't have any more questions right now. I'm sure others will come up, but in the meantime, would you say you're at 10, where 10 being you're ready to get started today, and 1 being you don't want to get started at all? Would you consider yourself, other than the money, you're at a 10? I might not even say other than the money. I said, on a scale from 1 to 10, 8, 9, or 10, where do you see yourself right now getting started today? Well, I'm an 8. Oh no, I totally get that. Let me ask you this. Why an 8? What do I need to do to get you from an 8 to a 10? Like, why are you not a 10? And they'll say, well, I get everything. They'll just come out and say, you know what, it's if I could just find the funding. So let me get this straight. So if you could find the funding, you'd be a 10. Yeah, well, naturally, if I could pay for it right now, I would, but I don't want to use my credit cards, and I really don't want to go into debt to do this, so I don't see myself getting started. Right? So, okay, cool. So I get it. So other than that, you are a 10, you just need to find the money. And I'll clarify. So once we find the money, you're good to go and get started. Yeah, absolutely. So if I can show you how most of us, and then I'll tell a story, right? For example, with me, that I didn't have any money when I got started, right? I didn't have credit. I didn't have resources. I didn't have a retirement account. I didn't have stock. I didn't even have any resource. I couldn't even sell anything. Everything I was selling was just to sell and pay bills. What I did have was a desire, right? And what I did have was an open mind. So I was fortunate enough where, because I had that open mind and I was a little stubborn, I took 45 days of my own time to figure out, try to do it all on my own. Once I realized I couldn't get this started on my own, I finally gave into the fact that I may have to ask for help. And I went to a family member and I created an opportunity for them to co-sign for a loan to let me use their credit so I could borrow money. But I set it up as a win-win where I borrowed more money than I needed, more than the 20 grand, so that way I could make sure that I didn't jeopardize their credit, so I could make the payments during the meantime when I was learning how to do real estate. And it gave me a little bit of breathing room so that I wasn't so stressed out that I didn't give up, right? So I'll tell my story or someone else's story, how they got started with someone else's credit using an angel investor. Then I'll move into the funding, right? So most of the time, the majority of the time is going to be spent at the follow-up on the money, right? And going through the funding options, going through the ways that most people fund. And again, you've heard Michael and Christian talk about this, how we're not telling people how to fund. We're not taking them down to the bank. We are not recommending anything, but we are explaining how it's done, right? We're explaining what is possible, what options are available, how we've seen people, and then we're telling stories to encourage them to go down that path, right? And we're asking them, what does your credit look like? I don't want to tell them how to fix their credit, but I want to tell them stories of how people have used Credit Nerds to fix their credit, or how I have fixed my own credit over time, and how using Velocity Banking increases credit, things like that. So I'm going to encourage them and foreshadow them and future pace them with the things that they're going to learn and things that are going to happen. But it's okay to ask what their credit is, right? It's okay to ask what their financial situation is. Are you comfortable telling me, how many, do you have any credit cards that have available lines of credit? Then I'll say, the funding, obviously, you guys, is a whole, it's a whole training in itself, and maybe it's time to do a funding training, but I haven't looked at the chats, you guys, in a little while. Let's see. I don't know if I'm missing anything. Hold on. Sumari, is that privately or do you want me to answer that?
Can be privately because you just keep like the team. So don't worry, we can talk that later.
Okay, cool. No
Okay,
problem.
bye-bye. Okay.
Bye. So I just want to check the chat, see if anybody had any questions. So I'll go through the funding. Most importantly though, I will want to at the follow-up, I'm going to spend time going through each of the many funding options. So just so you know, it's going to be cash and credit first, right? Cash or savings, credit cards or credit lines. Then it's going to be 401k, because the 401k is easier than the IRA, right? The IRA is only a 60-day rollover. You'll have to understand that, and then you could possibly move it to self-directed, and then you could borrow from your self-directed. You could give your company could give you a loan. I mean, your self-directed could loan your company money for the education. You got to go through that and understand that. I don't exactly know how it works, so I don't spend a lot of time on that one. But there's also stocks and bonds where you can sell them. There's life insurance, which is whole life insurance. There's also a home equity line of credit. I spend a lot of time on home equity lines of credit. I also spend time on, credit lines based on credit. And then I move into possibly selling things or leveraging assets that they may have. How did you get your, and I'll bring it up, do you own your car outright? Do you have a loan on your car? Oh, no, I just got it, or I got it a while ago. I only owe $5,000 left. I'm like, oh, what's your car worth? And they'll tell me, oh yeah, it's still worth, $15,000. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Did you know that banks right now are lending on cars, and can get really good loans on late model cars, from credit unions and things like that. And the interest rates are very good. No, I didn't know that. Okay. So I'll let them know what's possible, right? Maybe tell a story of someone who does that. And I'll move to this. Now, each and every one of these times that I'm talking about these funding options, you guys, I am also talking about an angel investor all the way through. I want them to fully understand each one of these options, not because they don't have it, right? If someone says, yeah, I don't have a 401k, I still explain the 401k. I still tell a story of the 401k, because when it comes down to it, at the seventh, after the first 5 or 6 options, I'm going to let them know about an angel investor, right? I'm not going to talk UGA until the very end. I'm not going to talk credit nerds until the very end. I'm going to talk about an angel investor first, and I'm going to talk about the opportunity where all of these options will come from an angel investor. And I will tell several stories on angel investors using different methods of funding someone else's education, whether it's Michael's story with Vanessa's mother, whether it's my story with my family member, whether it's one of my team members, whether uncle funded it through a loan from cash, right? So I have got HELOCs, how Raphael used his dad's equity in his own house to borrow a private money loan to get his education. There's crazy different ways. And I've used HELOC examples and everything. And you always listen, always have that opportunity to ask people what, where they are, if their credit is making them any money, or if their equity in their house is making them any money. And then I offer the opportunity. I've done this before, and if it's not you, then you could be your 5-star or one of the leaders in your community that can help you with the fact that if you can get someone who's open to listening to the opportunity, then you could put them on the phone or get them in a 3-way meeting with the person like myself, with my team, where I will sit down with that person and help them understand to be that angel investor, where I don't just send off my student trying to get started to go do the angel investing on their own. Most of the time they can do it on their own, but sometimes they need my help. They don't know how to present an opportunity or how to present a business proposition to someone, where they're typically used to just asking for money, right? Hey, I need to borrow this money to go to school. I need to borrow this money to make my bills. I need to borrow, right? It's not really a loan. This is more of an opportunity where we can encourage these folks based on what you're going to invest this money into. This is an investment opportunity for these folks. So that's how we'll explain this angel investor. So we're running out of time. It's 7:56. It doesn't look like there's any chat questions. Does anybody, remember, you can come off mute if you have any questions or thoughts in regards to something specific. And we run out of time on these things, but a little bit of the how on the follow-up. It's very important. I think that, you know, I go to a follow-up in an atmosphere where it's not too loud. Food isn't going to be a distraction, or a waiter's not going to be a distraction. You know, there's plenty of water because we'll talk a lot, and we'll be there while there's access to a bathroom for a break. And then I go there on purpose. I go there with the intention of spending an hour and a half to 2 hours there. I go there with the intention of sitting in a certain spot where I can share my computer with them. I'm not as concerned if it's one of my team's guests, that my team sees everything that I see, because I want to be positioned where I'm sitting next to the individuals that are the prospects, right? I don't want to sit across from them, because then I have to turn the laptop around. I want to sit next to them so we can both visually see it, and I can scroll through it. And I also use a white pad. My notepad is for my funding options, right? My notepad is writing out the earnings plan. My notepad is for separating the differences, right? So mainly it's for the funding options. I'll write down the funding options, and I'll hand them that piece of paper at the end. When I'm at the follow-up, I'm there to get as fast as I can to the point where they're ready to place an order. I want to overcome any objections. I want to overcome any questions right away. As soon as the rapport is built, we get through the pleasantries, we talk about our day, or whatever it is. I spend very little time talking about myself, which is hard to believe, right? I don't talk a little bit about my work or my deals or anything like that. I ask a lot of questions about how their day was, what are they up to, what do they do, what have they been doing, where have they been, have they ever done education before, right? I'm asking them questions, and they're going to greatly and appreciatively answer the questions with lengthy comments. And then during that time, I'm thinking to myself, okay, where do I interject a story or a Renata solution? And how do I move them to the next question, which is going to be, based on what you've seen so far, where do you see yourself getting started? Are you ready to get started, right? Is there anything holding you back? Is there anything specific about the education or about the community that you don't understand that's holding you back from just jumping all in, right? So these are questions that are going through my head, and I've preset myself ready for these questions to be asked when I go into the follow-up. When I'm on Thursday night, you guys, when I'm on a phone with a prospect in the beginning, whether it's a friend or family member, the number one thing I want to do is create intrigue and and see if they're interested in something that we offer. My only purpose is to invite. I don't want to explain. I don't want to share. I want to share some stories, but I don't want to explain. I don't want to justify. I don't even want to spend up time catching up. I'm calling them on purpose to book them to an event. When I'm at the event, I'm there for one reason. I want to get through the process of getting the information in front of them where they have no opportunity to ask a question, right? They're at a real estate deal. They're at a introduction presentation. They're at a Super Saturday, and they're gathering information. From there, I'm going to say, hey, what did you like best? Don't you think you want to see a little bit more of this? I know that you're looking forward to getting started. When can we get a chance to get together so we can clarify some of this information and really dive into this, right? So my only objection from their exposure is a one-on-one, is to sit down with them and really narrow this down. So that's my little build for event process. Immediately, it's a one-on-one. From the one-on-one, at the one-on-one, my next objective is to place the order. They're not always going to fund right there 100% with a credit card in hand. We're going to identify the place they're going to fund, and they might have to go through Get Funded. They might have to go through their custodian at their 401k or anything like that. So my next objective is to place the order and then to place a follow-up. I'm going to book them to the next meeting. I'm also going to book them to a follow-up phone call. I'm going to check in with you on Thursday and see if you've talked to the custodian. Did you already start the ball rolling with your 401k, or did you go down to the credit union to apply for your HELOC? I'm going to talk to them about that. I'm going to get them on a follow-up. I'm not going to meet up with them personally for that. I'm going to get them, but I'm constantly every week, I'm going to be booking them to the next event. I'm going to be setting them up for 2 weeks from now, letting them know, hey, you're going to be already enrolled, but you're going to want to go to Chris Alvin on the 26th. You're not going to want to miss this intensive. In fact, you're probably going to bring somebody with you, right? All right, it's 8:02. I'm going to put my number in here one more time. Let's see. Everyone publicly. That didn't work. Samara, I just gave you my phone number. Don't tell Zach. LOL. Just kidding. All right, cool. There it is. 760-533-3141. That's my number. Reach out to anybody. This is also recorded. Keely did a great job, as always, of setting this whole thing up. You guys, thank you very much for spending your Tuesday morning with me. I love you guys. Keely, thank you. Monica, thank you. You guys, it's so valuable to be on this. I can't tell you how much it means to me. And I look forward to listening to Dane tomorrow and Christian on Thursday. I look forward to seeing you guys. I am going to be out in Chicago doing Super Saturday on November 2nd. I'll be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Chicago, and I will be in the Northern California regionals. I haven't decided if it's going to be Seattle regionals or Northern Cal regionals. I got to check with my wife and our vacation plans. So I will see you guys soon. Feel free to reach out to me. If I don't get back to you, Tuesdays are pretty crazy with leadership meetings. So if I don't get back to you right away, then just text me again or call me. I'll get back to you, I promise. Anthony, I know, right? I think I've never ever been to Seattle, so I may come up to Seattle. But I also talked to James Lease about his event, so maybe I'll go to both. Anyway, Malin, thank you. You're welcome. Awesome, LaShawn. I will be out there in a week and a half out to Chicago. Looking forward to it. Love you guys. Everybody having a great Saturday. Have a great Tuesday. Have a great week. Make it great. Do whatever it takes. And I'll see you next Tuesday. I love you guys. I got to end the meeting. Unfortunately, I could talk all day and listen to you guys. I love you guys. Cool, Anthony. I think about you all the time, brother. Now I got to figure out how to leave the meeting. All right, here we go. So stop my share, end the meeting. You guys, I hate to end the meeting, but I got to do it. Have a great day. Love you guys. Make it great. Talk to you soon.